Hello everybody, welcome back to the Waterstones vlog. It's Will here. I'm not alone. I think this might be a Waterstones vlog first. Ooh. I'm here with an author. This is Jen Campbell. And Jen and I have known each other for many years, but I'm talking to you today about something completely different, which I'm very excited about. Yeah. Your debut poetry collection, which is here, the Girl Aquarium. Let's start off immediately by saying that you have written non-fiction, you have written fiction, you've written children's fiction, and now a poetry collection. Yes. Is there anything you can't do?
Yes, there are lots of things that I can't do. That's very sweet of you though.
Well, let's talk about, because I wonder, with those different forms of writing, when it comes to writing poetry, who is Jen Campbell the poet? Like, what is...
Who even is she?
Who even is she? Now, what is it about what is it that you're expressing with your poetry which is different to the other writing?
Well, poetry is the thing that I've written the longest.
Okay.
It's the thing I've written since I was tiny, since I could physically hold a pen. I used to have those, those compendiums of like childhood treasury poems, and I really loved Colin McNaughton. He made me laugh a lot, and I had a brilliant, I was going to say English teacher, but no, just teacher, because it was primary school, so he taught everything, but he was really passionate about English. Called Mr. Binns in year 6, so when I was like 10, and I remember during break he taught me how to write haiku. There's no haiku in this book, but like he went out of his way to encourage children in the things that they loved, which is really...
That's amazing.
I know, I think there are teachers like that. You really remember teachers who do things like that. So yeah, poetry is the thing that I've written the longest, and when I was a teenager, obviously I went through the stage of writing lots of emo, angsty poetry and all of that stuff. So I think the reason that it's different for me is because normally it's, even though it is part of my job, it feels like it's not, because poetry is not something that is in high demand normally, and because they're small, contained things, I can write them in between doing all of the other things. So when I come back to poetry, I really feel like, not to sound ridiculous, I'm coming back to myself, but because it's the thing that I've been writing longest, and it feels, I don't know, the thing that makes the most sense for me, I think.
Okay, that's interesting, because you're saying that if you're writing poems sort of in between stuff, but there is a real consistency to this collection with some of the themes that you talk about. One of those things is that there are a few poems in here which are very much about the human body, about physicality. And one that really stuck with me was a poem which talks about the sort of the villain in storytelling, who so often is physically deformed in some way, or who has scarring or something like that. And I know that this is something that you've spoken about. Yeah.
Away from the flag.
But let's talk about that, because I think it's a really interesting topic. And why is that sort of so important as a theme?
Well, it's something that's important to me. So you're right. There is one poem I'm just going to put my tea down because I feel like I'm gonna spill it. There is one poem in the collection which focuses on that in particular, and about the representation of, well, to be honest, the whole collection is about the representation of body, but that particular representation that you mentioned of films showing villains as being disfigured in some kind of way. It's a trope that I think that lots of people don't notice. And until it's pointed out to them, and then once you notice, you see it, you're like, oh my goodness, it's everywhere. Every James Bond villain, everything. I mean, they released, as we're filming this, the new Lion King trailer yesterday, and in that, obviously, the villain is Scar, and he's just called Scar because he has a scar. But in the new version, they've made him look more disfigured than he was in the original cartoon. And I find it interesting when we're progressing in so many other different directions. It seems to be one that people really cling to. It's like a literary tradition. Yeah. And I just hit the microphone, I'm really sorry. And I find it so bizarre. But yeah, it's particularly important to me because I was born with a condition which means that I'm missing fingers. So it's something that I've always been not really sensitive to, but hyper aware of, because when you see yourself represented, you're like, oh, this is either that's a representation that I've seen growing up and continue to see, or what we might deem inspiration porn, where someone is lauded as this perfect person you're supposed to feel sorry for, or feel you're supposed to feel good about yourself because you empathize with someone who is different. Yeah. Yeah. So those are the two kind of extremes. But yeah, the themes in this collection do deal with, the poems in this collection do deal with body quite a lot.
Jen has spoken about these themes quite a lot on her own channel. I'm presuming that almost anybody watching this video will already know of your amazing presence on YouTube, but if you don't, there will be links obviously below to Jen's channel. She not only talks brilliantly about these kind of things and about the themes around that, but she does, you know, she talks about books, she talks about posts, she talks about the book world. There's just a compendium of delights there, so do check out her channel if you haven't already, and subscribe and all that stuff. Getting back to the Girl Aquarium, about halfway through the book, a new voice, I suppose, appears, or rather an accent, a very clear accent, because the poems are written in a, I'm going to say northeast dialect, but I'm worried about getting it wrong. So
it's Geordie.
Can you tell me more?
Yeah, but my parents would be cross because it should be Mackham because we're from Sunderland, but I always just say Geordie because I think more people have heard of Geordie than they have of Mackham, but in the northeast, the rivalry between Sunderland and Newcastle is intense.
It's real. It
is really real, and I did have a Sunderland season ticket for a long time. The rivalry is big. So yes, the accent is Geordie, and I think maybe there are 6 poems or something. I should know. There are about, let's say 6, it sounds like a good number, 6 poems in the collection that are in Geordie dialect. And I have such fun playing with that accent. It's the accent that I grew up with. You have probably heard I've lost it somewhere along the way. So I grew up in the northeast in a small village by the sea until I was 18, and then I went to Edinburgh University, and then I moved down to London after that, and it's just gone, like, just has.
You would never know.
It flew away. But when I go home, I do find myself not slipping back into it, but making myself put that back on if I'm getting on a bus, must speak in the Geordie accent. But I think it's a really fun thing to play with. I find it an interesting prism to tell like memory stories through. It's almost like a secret language. And because a lot of the collection deals with queerness too, I find it almost Polari-esque in a way.
Okay, yeah.
And it's, I think, a way of harking back to my previous self. I haven't been through many different lives, but you know, we all have lots of different selves within us, and the little Geordie lass inside me, it's a way of giving her voice to experiment with memories to do with the sea and with northeast mythology. Wouldn't
you mind, just to finish off, reading a poem from the collection?
Yeah, sure, I absolutely can. I don't read much in dialect either, but a good person to reach for if you would like to is Liz Berry, because she does dialect. I mean, she does everything amazingly.
So she's a Brummie, right? So she's from Birmingham. So she writes these incredible poems in dialect, and again, you can absolutely hear that accent when you're reading the poems on the page. But if you can, and you certainly can if you search on YouTube, there are videos of her reading her own stuff. She has got the most mesmerising voice.
It's like a lullaby.
Yeah, and so you just feel yourself kind of being drawn in as she's speaking. She's really quiet and precise. It's just wonderful. So
that's the kind of hypnotising power, isn't it, of someone who knows that they can hold your attention whilst speaking so quietly. I love it. She's great. Her collection is called Black Country, and she has a new collection out called The Republic of Motherhood, which is a little chapbook, but that's not in dialect, but Black Country is.
Yep.
Okay, so this one is called Netted. I feel the pressure now.
I know, sorry, I feel like I should leave.
No, don't leave. Don't leave me. Netted. And then the court were. Eyes shouting like they was radio. Me hair all up in their fists like a cloud. It's long now. Down to my navel, because then all the black is like a cave what I can sit in, what I can sing in, with voices hiding in all the corners like I'm radio too. And then the chorus, me and Caitlin, we was dancing our AM. Fairgrounds in my eyes, blazing out like dancing lions, and me stomach a stinking jellyfish, all zip-zapping around. And then the chorus, when we was whispering, and their fingers got me mouth, the hiccups of the ocean all dripping down my blouse, and the sounds was ganning manic like we was trapped underground. And then the chorus said we was danger, said our queer souls was a well, looking at us like we're fishes what swam but should have drowned, but I think me soul's a lighthouse, and I cling to Caitlin's arm, our voices singing from all the corners like was mermaids in the dark. There you go.
Fabulous. Jen, thank you so much. It's just a pleasure to talk to you about a different aspect to your writing that I've never spoken to you about before, so thank you
for having me.
So there we go. There was a vlog with a difference with an author. We might do this again. Let us know what you thought in the comments, but in the meantime, do check out The Girl Aquarium by Jen Campbell, and you must check out her channels as well, because there's lots of amazing stuff on there, and you will also discover that she has written many, many books, so there's lots for you to dive into. So there we go.
Thank you very much.
That's a pleasure,
Cheers.
Jen. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.